Item 15, Little River Cycleway Closeout. Okay. Hello.
Morning. Or afternoon actually now.
Okay, so we've got the closeout report here. Anything particularly you want to say about it?
No, I guess a couple of quick high levels. The project was let in 2 contracts. The works were basically complete in May and June 17. The only remaining work to do is there is some work in Grove Road just around the Kiwi Rail tracks. Kiwi Rail have plans to realign some of the tracks to get a bit more separation between them, so we are waiting for them to do their work before we can proceed. They had originally scheduled it for late 2018, but have now deferred potentially into 2020.
Okay. All right. I had a question on page 7 of your report, so page 538 of the agenda. So in terms of the variations, 358,000 related to an early renewal of the water main, which I think people would be happy to see, that when you're doing works in an area, if something needs to be repaired, it gets done then.
Yep.
How did that eventuate in terms of, was it something you just discovered as you went through the project, or did you know that the main was there?
So what it related to was just around the overbridge that the motorway goes across Wrights Road. The water main there was an old AC main, and so there was a proposal to replace that, and so we took advantage of the fact we were there early and we did that. So originally the water main was 2 to 3 years out, but they had brought it forward, so we did our bit and then they came in straight after us and completed the works.
So you knew that when you were planning the route that was there?
No, we didn't at that stage.
Okay, because that's the question, because I think another bit came up where you're doing work and you find service clashes as you go along.
Yeah.
In terms of other cycleways, are you having similar issues that you're finding stuff, or you know where stuff is that you can, plan that in advance?
So with the other cycleways that we're doing, we do service clashes. So when we do our scheme plans, we're not aware of the service clashes, but as we do the detailed design, we do look for service clashes and take those into account.
And we're doing more and more potholing earlier in the process, and through that design process, there's even looking to bring some of it forward when we do our scheming to figure out exactly where some of that is. But usually at the scheming stage, it's run off plans. So we get the plans in from the service authorities.
So like Orion, Kinetics, our own internals. The plans have various layers of accuracy. For example, Orion can be plus or minus a metre. Okay. So we know roughly where they are, but potholing is the only way to confirm exactly where they are.
But you know there are services in that area?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we would have known that was there, but not known it needed to be upgraded.
Yeah.
So you didn't know the main needed to be upgraded?
Correct.
Okay. So in terms of the asset information, I mean, who do you go to say, hey, there's a main in the area we're putting in this path? Should we repair it? What's the status of it? Is that information available?
So we have service plans, and we so if we take a generic. Can I take a generic look at a project?
Yeah, because
when we generally do a project,
what the public wants to hear is that whenever we're doing any kind of work which involves digging things up, that is, if there's stuff in the vicinity that might need repairing in the next whatever time, couple of years, that you might actually look at it. Should we bring it forward, or actually will it last a lot longer?
So the normal process when we're doing a design for a transport project is before we've even started figuring out a scheme, we go out and do a pick-up. So we get the survey information, but we also go out to all of the service authorities and get their information on the services that are on the road. That includes our own internal services, and they're all put onto a plan. The only way to absolutely confirm all of that information is to do potholing and to be absolutely sure about exactly where those services are within the ground, because there is different levels of accuracy of those the plans. So it's set up in a GIS layer, is
Yeah.
That's my
So in
understanding.
terms of the repair of the water main,
Yep.
that information now has gone into our asset management
Yes.
Correct.
system,
Yes.
so
Yes.
we know that.
Yes.
Right,
Yes.
okay.
So
Yeah.
we as built after all projects, and all of that data is picked up and
Pop
transferred
back into
through.
the system.
Good. Okay, Mike.
Thank you. It's also good to note this is actually quite a successful cycleway looking at the stats on it. Just curious, out of the budget spent, what percentage of that's actually gone to, I guess, increase the level of service for people that, other people that actually don't use it for biking?
We did that across the network, didn't we? Rather
Yeah.
than just this project.
I think it's about 35% of the spend is on asset renewal, not directly related
Yeah.
to the cycleway.
But
That's sort
even,
of
because
typical.
there's a few shared paths.
Yep. So that would
Correct.
Okay, so
include
do we-
footpath renewals. It will
Okay.
include a cube, stormwater drainage,
Landscaping.
landscaping.
So we
Traffic
take all that
signals.
into account when we have a look at actually what is the benefit for people that don't cycle that
Yep.
they will get
Yep.
from this. Okay, so around 35%.
It's about
Yeah.
30 to 35%.
And
But we
what-
did
sorry.
work that out, just to be clear, we worked that out at a network level on the work that had been done generally across the whole of the Cycleways network
Okay,
when
and
we were
what
doing work
subsidy
for the
did we
annual plan.
get on this? Or
This-
the whole,
This was UCP.
This was UCP, so 66%.
the 60% subsidy and also 35% of the, right, thank you.
Phil.
Thank you for the report on the closeout of the cycleway. And you've listed the costs quite clearly. And we've known those all along. Overall, they haven't been exceeded. But what I want to ask you about is perhaps how we might also be able to list, maybe in future, some of the big savings in terms to the city. And I'm aware this is one cycleway, but clearly, for example, with active travel, reduced health savings and reduced the savings and cost savings with reducing the emissions from cars, and also water pollution from stormwater. So I'm just wondering if would there be a way somehow to proportion that in the future, so in fact the cost savings to the city are clearly recognised, as well as these financial costs.
I suppose the cost savings at that level are recognised through the economics that are done before we even build the project. This is a closeout report on the contract, and we were looking at what the contract had delivered and the changes that had done to that. That'd be that's part of the work that we're doing, is the monitoring and assessment of the work on the network for the MCRs, not the individual projects themselves. So I'd have to look at how we could do that through that, I would think, rather than at an individual route level like this.
No, I would think in relation to the network, certainly should answer the overall question. Thank you. Lynette.
Okie dokie. Any particular standout learning from this project?
There was, this was very early in the process, so there was some treatments that we used in here which we've now incorporated into future projects. So this was one of the first where we tried two-way cycleways as opposed to one-way separated. Two-way cycleways are now generally the predominant treatment. So this was probably the first test case. It's worked really well, and we've now incorporated that through into future designs.
The photo on page 8 is a good example where the markings at the gate, that's just at a driveway.
Yeah.
And it's just to remind the drivers coming in and out to make sure they look both ways. We tend to do that right around the city. It's not that they'll be replaced in future, but they're in there to try and change that behaviour right up front. I agree with Brendan, actually the two-way cycleways have been seen to be very successful, well used, and we're not seeing safety concerns that we thought we might see.
Yeah.
That's good.
Okay, good stuff. Phil?
To thank the staff for not only the report, but also completion of a majorly successful cycleway. All the green lights on our page 542 are great. And I want councillors to know that an indication of how pleased people were about the cycleway was when the contractors were moving around Church Square, the local people in Addington bought them out morning and afternoon tea, things like that. And so I think we often hear a lot of flack about our cycleways, but in fact this is an incredibly strong report, and every area has been met. So I want to thank you both, and the teams and the contractors.
Pauline?
Yeah, I'd like to endorse that, and in fact the satisfaction survey that we just looked at, there's far more interest and approval and satisfaction with the cycleways, which is probably why we're not seeing people kicking up so much about it. I think they're seeing the benefit of them, and this is a particularly lovely one going through Church Square. So, and I also want to congratulate you on time and on budget. That's really good. Well done.
Okay, well, thanks very much. Anne?
I just wanted to reinforce those comments. And in terms of Carlene's report, there seems to be a really strong correlation between when people get the right kind of information and they're kept in touch with what's going on, which you guys are amazingly good at doing, then the satisfaction in the project is enhanced. And I think that that's a really great thing for us all to remember, that information and engagement is key to our residents' satisfaction. So thank you very much for all the effort you've put into this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, any more thanks around the table? No? Okay. So, thank you for the report. If there's any debate, Phil? Phil, happy to move. Seconded Pauline. Any debate? Put the motion. All in favour say aye. Aye. Against.